Welcome to the music news for the streets. I'm your anchorman, SumnSumnSumn. Hit the keys. And in today's newscast, we have all kinds of exciting stories from. Looks like Logic 12 just came out. Looks like Audio Modern just dropped a fire update to Soundbox. And we've got some new information about a new version of a KO2. But let's go ahead and get right into our top story. Our top story today comes from Apple. Looks like Logic 12 has just dropped. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the story. So as we see here, Apple releases Logic Pro 12 when chords start to collaborate. I understand that I have an Apple and I probably should have downloaded Logic 12, but I don't have any space for the update in order to get Logic 12. So we'll get it in the next couple days and we'll check it out, but we're just going to check this story here today. So as we see here, here's kind of a look at Logic 12 there. It looks very Logic-y. A Logic Pro 12 builds on its roots as a music theory-based production tool, offering a slightly different perspective. When you drag audio, MIDI, or a quick recording into the project, the system recognizes the chords and writes them to a chord track. It's more than just a display because other tracks react to it, building pads and different patterns. This feature is particularly useful to intros, transitions, and atmospheric layers, where a small amount of material can quickly develop into something more, but that was not all. So let's see here. We see here it says Logic Pro 12 puts harmony at the center. The environment feels less like a pure recording space and more like a musical translator. The chord ID function listens and analyzes one track, turning it into a harmonic template for others. Thus, a simple loop provides not only sound, but also kind of a blueprint for other elements. Musically, this means that even simple ideas can gain depth without having to program each voice individually. So that's pretty cool. I know one thing that I was reading about this is that they're saying that it's not making brand new patterns or doing all this. It's just kind of taking the information that it has and it's kind of using probably patterns or stuff that they already have. But they're going to be relevant to your chord progressions or whatever key and scale and whatever it is that you're using. So it says here, chord recognition is often surprisingly accurate, capturing not only the right harmonies, but also their change over time. This directly influences how pads move and accompaniments breathe. If the system is turned off, you can quickly turn it back on and continue using the structure. This keeps the creative flow going and saves you from spending a lot of time entering and rebuilding. So he's got a little bit of it here. He's playing on this track. I'm just going to play a little bit of this.
So now I have a harmonic starting point for my session players to follow. So let's create a new track and our two new session. Let's start with modulated pad. And the main thing here you're going to see that's different from before is that we now have modulation that is written into the session player regions. So this particular session player, I can control the complexity and amount of envelope modulation. You can control the,
which is pretty cool. Let's see what it sounds like, though. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear what it sounds like.
For that modulation.
So that's pretty cool because it looks like, you know, these are going to probably be, I'm assuming this is the keyboard player. And so he's basically modulated that pad to just give it a different sound. So that's pretty solid there. New additions of Logic 12 include synth and bass players based on the chord track. They don't play randomly, but rather remain harmonious within the context of the project. Yeah, so just like I was saying earlier, it's not going to be random, but it'll work with your project. This creates dynamic textures from static sources that fit organically into the arrangement. You can use them to fill backgrounds, layer pads, or enhance bass lines without constantly making corrections. The step sequencer now responds to these harmonies and adjusts its patterns accordingly. This generates lines from individual steps that automatically change over the course of a track. In combination with random functions, movements emerge that remain tonally coherent. Logic 12 audibly intervenes in the soundscape with rhythm and harmony interacting more closely than before. And then if you guys are interested, here are all the release notes for Logic 12.0. So there's a lot more than just that's happened. Like you can use Simple Pad to add lush harmonic layers to your song. Explore popular synth bass styles, including 808 bass, pump bass, so on and so forth. But there's so much more here in Logic 12. I challenge you guys to go check that out. And if you got Logic 12, let me know below in the description what you guys think. All right, guys, and up next, it looks like Audio Modern has dropped a new update for their free Soundbox player. Looks like they've added chords. Let's go ahead and check this out. So as we see here, we can also use the chords in this in another plugin. So I'll show you guys that too here in a little bit. Let's just start off by grabbing a sound. So let's grab a sound and let's grab this piano and keys. We'll just grab this lo-fi EP. That sounds like. All right, so some basic lo-fi EP right there. But now we can come over here into chords and we can tap chords, and now you see we have chords. So like sounds that have multiple layers, you can use chords on one layer, on another layer. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to use the chords on every layer. That's cool. But you see now we have the chords on. So now if I just push down one button, right? We can change the scale if we want to. We'll just go ahead and leave it on D minor right now. We have different chord types in which we can go in between. So we have major 9s, 7s, all the stuff that we need here. Let's go ahead and just add a 7th. Right, with this, we can go up or down octaves. We can also invert notes in the chord. Which makes it nice. We can offset the velocity if we want to. And then they have this strum feature, so we can strum the keys too. So that's pretty fire. You can strum it a lot if you want to. And then you have different ways that the chords can strum. So right here, how you start it here, the root note, the bottom note always stays intact. When you switch it up to here, then the top note stays intact, I believe. And this is pretty dope too once you start inverting chords. So that's pretty nice. And then you have another feature over here too where you can strum them a little differently. And then they also have this bend feature where you can actually bend the chords. So you can bend it to the next chord. So if you're using a plugin that's MPE compatible, I believe that this will still bend the notes for you. But if you're using something that's just a standard non-MPE, it won't bend those notes for you. And you can change the bend amount or the speed. Obviously, it's going to be a long bend here. So this is pretty nice. You can also, like I was saying earlier, you can use this with another instrument too. So let's go ahead and turn the volume down on this. So now you know we don't hear nothing. If I was to come into Soundbox real quick and I was to make my output 0, 1, whatever, and then make the input of this piano the same. So come over here and make this one. So now if you hear me push the piano down, but if I come up here to Soundbox, so, you know, you can hear it, playing that piano. So Fire Tool, you can use this for the Soundbox. There's a couple of free libraries for Soundbox. Soundbox is free to download. You know what I'm saying? You can grab this and get going. The third story that I have for you guys today, this one comes from Reason. This story is probably about a week old. I probably should have covered it last week, but I didn't. It looks like Reason is now making Reason Rack available to everyone at a $200 charge. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we see Reason Rack perpetual license now available. That's right. The Reason Rack plugin is now available to own on a perpetual basis, bringing Reason's essential devices to your DAW workflow. It's the first move following the Reason Studios takeover. Lander has dropped the price of the popular music production platform by nearly half and made a perpetual license version of the Rack plugin available. Hey, I'm gonna tell you what. We've been talking a lot of smack about all these companies acquiring all this stuff and doing all this stuff. Yo, Lander did it right though. Lander came in and they were like, you know what? I know it's weird that a new company is taking over, so we're just going to cut the price almost in half. So we're going to take it from $4.99 to $2.99, and we're going to start offering some of these tools for other people to buy. Lander, y'all did this. Y'all did this. I don't necessarily have more details than that. I just have that the price of Reason 13 right now is currently $299. And Reason Rack is $199. It comes with 67 Reason Rack devices, instruments, effects, players, utilities, and over 50,000 samples, loops, and patches. I tried to go look to see what was in the new Reason Rack, and I Googled it, and it took me here, but I think this is more than 67 instruments. So I don't want to go through all this stuff and just be like, oh, you're going to get all this stuff, because I have absolutely no idea what you're going to get. But I know some of this stuff is going to come in here. I know Polytone does come in here, and some of this stuff comes in there. So I'm not sure what's all coming in the rack for you guys, but do you know what I'm saying? A lot of this stuff is going to come in there and you're going to get to use it. Maybe all this is the stuff that's coming in here. So $200 may seem a little expensive, but then again, you're going to get everything and you're going to get all the effects and Reason. So for me, I guess that's not a bad price at all. Not bad at all. All right, guys, in our next story, it looks like Teenage Engineering has updated the KO2 to 128 megabytes. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the story. So as we see here, Teenage Engineering EP133 KO2 now with 128 megabytes. That just seems like no data at all. Just, where do you go? That seems like nothing. Nothing plus nothing is nothing. The KO got nothing. Sorry. All right, so the Teenage Engineering EP133 KO gets a much-deserved hardware update. The new version comes with 128 megabytes of sample memory, twice as much as before, now ready to pre-order. So Teenage Engineering has released a newer version of the ever-popular EP133 KO2 with twice as much memory as the previous version. The new edition offers more space for getting creative with your samples. Granted, 128 megabytes is still tiny compared to sampling behemoths such as the Digitac, the Toneverk, or the MPC series, but the EP133 KO was never about handling. Why did I read that wrong? Why in my mind was it reading handling large loads when about loading? Hold on, I gotta call y'all. I'm leaving all this in the video. All right, we'll just start this paragraph over. Granted, 128 megabytes is still tiny compared to sampling behemoths such as the Digitac, the Toneverk, and the MPC series, but the EP133 KO was never about loading huge libraries or working with stereo stems. Instead, it excels at on-the-fly sampling and beat making. That said, the updated EP133 KO with 128 megabytes is, of course, great news. You now have twice the amount of memory at your disposal for sampling on the fly, chopping and editing samples, and building beats. You can order the new version from Toman. It should be in stock within a week or so. Last but not least, I've got a little drum plugin here for you guys that allows you to create drum rhythms and patterns a little bit differently than you've created them before. It's called DRUW, and it's by Beatsurfing. Let's go ahead and check this story out. So as we see here, Beatsurfing DRUW, groove performance via touch instead of grid thinking, pre-order now. So this says build beats using the touch screen instead of drawing boxes with a mouse. So as we see here, DRUW comes from Beatsurfing. This tool lets you create instruments using gestures instead of mouse movements. As soon as you play sounds through DRUW, they react as if they were played directly on a percussion instrument or a drum rack. Strokes don't feel static. They follow the movement energy of your fingers or your iPad. This makes DRUW ideal for lively grooves, spontaneous breaks, and fills the build-up naturally instead of sounding abruptly cut. The concept is great, and so is the execution. All right, so it says here, DRUW feels more like an instrument than a drum rack. In everyday studio use, DRUW doesn't behave like a typical drum machine, but rather like something you actually play. Use your smartphone or tablet as a playing surface while keeping everything in the DAW in terms of your sound. Your finger movements directly shape the timing, dynamics, and accents. Small inaccuracies bring life to the sound, while stronger gestures push the groove forward. The result sounds less programmed and more like a well-rehearsed percussion. You'll notice this most sonically in the transients. Firm inputs deliver harder attacks, while softer movements produce rounder, less aggressive sounds. These differences audibly affect the sound and help you control the track's energy. This creates a natural arc of tension between quiet parts and full drops, eliminating the need for automation. Here, grooves are created with your finger, not boxes in the piano roll. Touch control primarily changes the rhythm's feel rather than playing rigid patterns. Sequences evolve slightly and constantly. Timing fluctuates minimally. Accents shift and grooves breathe. In electronic music, which often sounds very mechanical, this brings an organic quality to the arrangement that would otherwise only come from live performance. When you use your own samples, DRUW doesn't just react neutrally. Short drums, percussive sounds, and even longer textures behave differently depending on how you play them. This allows you to build layers where crisp hits and flat sounds react to your performance. Transitions are created not only by effects, but also your playing style. So let's kind of see what this looks like a little bit.
DRUW by Beatsurfing. Play grooves you didn't plan. Draw, drum, play. DRUW.
That kind of looks cool.
Touch the groove. Feel music under your fingers. Generate drum.
That's kind of fire. It looks like the intro price of this is going to be 38 euros, and it comes out in the third quarter of 2026. But that's what I got for you guys in today's newscast. Hopefully I could help you guys out to get that Logic update and to get that Soundbox update so you guys can get to using those right away. Make sure if you guys do like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. I appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Some, hit the key.